3 true first date horror street worries. I met Lily on a Thursday. She had this quiet, charm-sharp eyes, dark hair in a loose braid, always twisting a silver ring on her thumb. We agreed to meet at a rustic little diner just outside Eugene, Oregon. It was supposed to be casual, friendly, but 3 minutes after I arrived, I already knew something was wrong. The parking lot was nearly empty, except for Lily's car, and an old black truck parked crooked across 2 spaces. Inside, the waitress didn't greet me, just stared. Her eyes didn't blink. I shrugged it off, sat by the window. That's when I saw him standing under a flickering street lamp, completely still. Black cloak over his head, pale green mask that didn't move even when the wind picked up, and a finger slowly pressed to his lips. I turned away, told myself it was just someone being weird. Oregon's full of eccentrics, right? Lily arrived minutes later. She laughed it off when I described him. Said small towns attract stories like that, but the way her eyes kept darting toward the window made my skin crawl. I asked if she was okay. She said yes, but didn't stop fidgeting with that ring. The diner lights dimmed twice during our meal. Once, I thought I saw the masked man behind the counter, just beyond the swinging kitchen doors. But when I stood to check, it was empty, silent. I started noticing little things. The waitress didn't seem to move between tables. She was just there. Suddenly, a man in the corner never touched his coffee. Lily's reflection in the window didn't match her movements. We paid and left quickly. Outside, the air felt heavier, colder. That same truck was still there, headlights dim but on. The street lamp buzzed above, casting twitching shadows over the sidewalk. That's when Lily stopped walking. She looked me dead in the eye and said something I still don't understand. He doesn't like when you look at him. I asked who, but her expression went blank. She looked past me and then I felt it. The cold, the silence, the shift. I turned and he was there, 10 feet away. No footsteps, no sound. Just standing, head tilted, mask smiling. The cloak moved though, there was no wind. And then closer. No motion, no time to react. Just closer. We ran. I don't remember the drive, only that the radio kept cutting in and out with static and low whispers, always ending with the same sound. Shh. We didn't speak all the way back to town. Lily gripped the dash the whole time, white-knuckled. When I dropped her off, she leaned in and whispered again. He follows the curious. Then she was gone. I haven't seen Lily since. Her number rings once, then silence. I went back to the diner. A week later it was closed, boarded up. Locals say it's been shut for over a year. I know that's not true. I still have the receipt from that night. Still smells like burnt coffee. I try not to look out windows at night anymore. Not since last Thursday. Not since I saw the pale green mask in my reflection. Not since I heard the softest voice from the dark behind me say, "Shh." Because now I know. He doesn't just follow the curious. He waits until they stop running. And I think last night I stopped. We met under the golden light of an Arizona evening. The desert was quiet, air dry, and humming with heat. Her name was Marla, and she suggested something different for our first day tour of the ruins behind St. Point. Elmo's Chapel, an old abandoned church near Flagstaff. I liked odd places. She liked history. It seemed harmless at first. The church had no official tours, just an old caretaker who unlocked the rusted gate for $20 cash. He didn't speak much, just handed us a flashlight and warned us not to stay past dark. His voice cracked when he said it, like it wasn't advice, like it was something he needed to say so he could sleep that night. Inside, the air shifted, cold despite the heat outside. The wood floor creaked under every step, and the smell mildew, and something older clung to the walls. We laughed about ghosts and legends. It made things less eerie, but the deeper we went, the less it felt like a joke. There was something about the way the light moved, like it bent around corners wrong. Marla said it was just old glass playing tricks, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. I noticed symbols carved into the pews. Thin, scratched lines in a language I didn't know. They matched the ones etched onto the pulpit, like someone had gone over them again and again. At the back of the chapel was a trap door. The hinges were rusted but loose, like it had been opened recently. Marla wanted to go down, said it might be part of the old catacombs the Spanish missionaries used. Curiosity pulled us in. We dropped below into a narrow hallway lined with stone and candle soot. The air felt heavier with every step. It was darker down there, and too quiet. Our footsteps echoed weird, as if there were more than just the two of us walking. I kept checking behind me. Nothing. But I could feel something. Watching. Waiting. We reached a small circular chamber, cold stone all around. In the center stood a wooden chair with leather straps on the arms, old, cracked, and stained. Behind it, carved into the wall, was a face, twisted, with a wide smile and hollow eyes. Its mouth curved too far, and a finger was carved right next to it, pressed gently to where lips should be. Marla stood frozen. She whispered that she'd seen it before, in dreams. I turned to ask what she meant, but then the flashlight flickered, just once, enough to throw everything into shadow. And he was there, the same figure from before, the mask green and pale, like old copper, emotionless, except for that unnatural smile. Cloak dragging along the stone floor. No sound, no breath, just that presence. Crushing. He raised a hand, not fast, not slow. The finger went to his lips. That silent gesture again. Shh. Marla backed away, bumping into the chair. The leather strap on the arm curled slightly, like it remembered movement. She grabbed my arm. We ran. But the hallway twisted, turned where it shouldn't. The door behind us was gone. In its place, just more stone, more symbols, and more silence. We kept moving. I stopped checking behind me. I didn't want to see if he was still there. Then light, a crack in the ceiling. We pushed upward, scraping through a hatch, and found ourselves in the back of the churchyard. The sun was gone. Only moonlight, dim and distant. We didn't speak until we reached the car. The caretaker was gone. So was his booth. No signs of entry, no flashlight, nothing. We drove back in silence. Marla stared out the window the whole way. I asked what she'd meant about the dreams. She didn't answer, just said, "He comes when you find the places you shouldn't, when you step into the wrong memory." She never answered my text after that, not one. When I returned to the church a week later, there was nothing but dry ground and desert scrub. No ruins, no gate, not even a foundation, like it had never been there at all. But sometimes, late at night, I hear the floor creak behind me. I turn. I see nothing, just the edge of a cloak slipping out of sight. And I feel that cold, not air cold, the other kind. The kind that wraps around your spine and whispers in a voice you almost remember. Shh. Because it's not about where you go. It's about what you wake up when you get there. And I think I've already woken it. I should have turned around the moment I saw the motel. It sat at the edge of an empty highway in rural Colorado, with one flickering neon sign and a gravel lot that crunched too loudly beneath my tires. My date, Clarice, had picked the place to say it had vintage charm, quiet, out of the way. She was already there when I arrived, leaning on the hood of her car with a grin that didn't match the cold in her eyes. I told myself I was just tired from the drive, that the way her smile lingered too long was nothing. But the air felt heavy. Inside, the lobby was dusty, almost forgotten. A bell on the counter, untouched. No one at reception, but a key left with a note that just said room 12. Clarice laughed, called it creepy, in that fun kind of way. I laughed too, but it came out forced. I remember thinking the place didn't smell right, like old paper and wet ash. The hallway stretched longer than it should have. Room 12 was near the end, but the numbers skipped. 10, 11, 13, then 12, crammed between. The room was dark when we entered, lights dim, flickering slightly. The wallpaper peeled near the corners, and a large mirror hung opposite the bed, dusty but intact. I caught our reflections as we moved, but something about the angle seemed off. Clarice sat near the edge of the bed, pulled out a small bottle of wine and 2 cups. We talked about our jobs, our favorite places to travel. I tried to focus, but the mirror kept catching my eye. The reflection didn't feel right. Our movements were slower, like the mirror showed what would happen, not what was happening. Then, around 11 p.m., I heard it. A laugh. Not loud, but clear, low, from somewhere down the hallway. Clarice stiffened, eyes locked on the door. "That's just the wind," she said. But she didn't sound convinced. The laugh came again, closer this time. Drawn out, like someone pretending to laugh. I opened the door, stepped into the hallway. It was empty, but the lights buzzed, flickering like a warning. I turned to go back in and saw someone at the end of the hallway. He wore a black vest over a pale shirt, sleeves rolled, arms slack. His smile stretched too wide, unnatural, frozen, and his eyes were open far too much, pupils small, as if staring into a bright light that only he could see. He didn't move. He just stood, watching. Then he tilted his head, almost gently. I closed the door fast, locked it, told Clarice someone was there. She didn't answer. I turned. She was staring at the mirror. Her reflection was smiling. She wasn't. Then she whispered, "I've seen him before." The lights in the room dimmed again, the laugh now coming from behind the mirror. I stepped forward. The mirror was warm. Clarice grabbed my hand, pulling me back. "We need to leave," she said, voice shaking. "Now." But the hallway had changed. Longer. Dimmer. We walked fast, every footstep sounding like it echoed from somewhere deeper underground. The man stood at the lobby entrance now. Same smile. He didn't block us, just watched. As we left, his head turned slowly to follow. We didn't speak until we reached the highway. The motel lights were gone, like they'd been swallowed by the dark. I dropped Clarice home. She hugged me like someone who didn't expect to see me again, then walked inside without a word. I tried to find the motel the next day. Nothing. No listing, no trace. But that night, as I brushed my teeth, I glanced at the bathroom mirror, and behind my reflection, standing just out of focus, was that same smile. Not loud, not fast, just laughter. Low and patient, and that feeling in my spine that some first dates never really end. The rain hadn't stopped since I left Eugene. A cold, steady drizzle that clung to my windshield like fingers. The kind of rain that made everything feel slow and slightly unreal. Her name was Camille. We met on a local app, just conversation at first. Her profile had no photos, only one line, "Let's meet where the trees breathe." I should have said no, but I was bored, curious, a little reckless maybe. She told me to drive up Highway 126 toward the forest edge. There was an old greenhouse cafe off a side road, she said. It closed years ago, but the owner still kept the garden lights on for guests. That sentence stayed in my head longer than it should have. I parked by the fence, engine ticking in the quiet. Camille was already waiting, leaning on the porch railing of the cafe. Long black coat, hair damp and clinging to her face, barely smiling. She didn't look cold. Didn't blink much either. Said she liked the quiet here, how the woods swallowed sound. We walked around the side where the greenhouse stood. Glass panels streaked with water, lights inside, glowing too warm. She asked if I believed plants could remember things. I said no, unsure if she was joking. She smiled again, thin, distracted. I noticed the dirt beneath her nails. Inside, the air was thick with heat and the scent of wet leaves. Some of the glass panels were cracked, but none broken. Dozens of small potted plants sat in perfect rows, too still. We sat near the back, on 2 iron chairs. She poured tea from a flask smelled sweet, earthy. As I sipped, I noticed movement beyond the glass. A figure, still, not walking, not moving just there. I leaned forward, blinked. It was gone. Camille didn't react, just asked if I ever felt watched. Not in that way, I said. But even as I spoke, I felt it, like something standing behind the wall of vines. We talked about strange things. Dreams she had of waking up underground, rooms with no doors, voices that whispered from inside mirrors. Then she paused, said she thought the forest wanted something from her, and maybe from me too. A branch snapped outside, then another, not fast, not wild slow, deliberate. She looked toward the glass. He followed me once, she said, but I never invited him in. I asked who. She didn't answer. Instead, she pointed, outside the far window, pressed against the glass. A face, pale, wide grin, eyes open too wide, unmoving. He wasn't breathing, just there, watching. I stood, nearly knocked over the table, but Camille didn't move. Her hands were on her lap, still. He never leaves. He just waits. That's how he gets in. The lights above us flickered. The greenhouse grew colder. The plants leaned toward the window, leaves shivering without wind. I ran out, past rows of green, past the warmth of the tea, out into the forest path where no footsteps followed, but I could feel it like something brushing the back of my neck. The parking lot was darker than I remembered. My car lights didn't come on, and behind the window of the cafe, that same face, smiling, his hand raised, one finger against his lips. I drove without thinking, without checking the rearview mirror. Didn't sleep that night, or the next. And on my window, through the fog, every morning since, a handprint, faint, pressed from the inside. The desert was endless, and the radio kept cutting out. I was halfway between Las Vegas and Tonopah, on a road that felt like it had no destination. Dry wind slipped through the cracked window, humming low like a warning I couldn't quite hear. Her name was Mara. She messaged me after I commented on an old post about ghost towns. Said she lived near one and knew a perfect place to watch stars. It sounded harmless. I'd done worse things out of boredom. So I agreed to meet at a gas station near the edge of Goldfield, Nevada. She was late. I waited inside my car, chewing on a straw, staring at the empty road stretching behind the pumps. There was no signal, no other cars, only the hum of a flickering overhead light. When she arrived, she didn't speak much. Tall, slim, sunglasses on, even though the sun was long gone. She said to follow her, then drove off without looking back. We drove deeper, into nothing. The only light was her brake glow in the dust. After nearly an hour, she pulled over beside a crumbling motel with no signage. We walked past a broken fence, through dunes swallowing old tires and rusted signs. She asked if I believed in things that walked without leaving footprints. I said I didn't know what that meant. She smiled, that same tight, dry smile from the gas station, and said she hoped we wouldn't be followed tonight. Inside the motel, everything was still. The air smelled of mold and dry earth. We sat in what used to be a lobby, where half the ceiling had caved in. She lit a small lantern. The glow made shadows stretch along the cracked walls. She pulled out a deck of faded cards and began laying them on the table, one by one. No names, no numbers, only symbols I didn't recognize. I asked what they meant. She said each one told a different kind of death, not prophecy, just memory. Then she froze. Her hand paused above the last card, and without looking up, she said, "He's close." The lantern went out. I reached for my phone. Dead. Outside, gravel crunched. Slow, deliberate, like heavy steps dragging through sand. I held my breath. She whispered that he only visits once, but if you notice him, he might come back. I asked who he was. She didn't answer. Her eyes were fixed on the cracked motel door. Then I saw it, a pale face pressed against the dusty window. Wide grin, skin too tight around the mouth, eyes empty and glowing faint red. He didn't move, didn't blink, just stared through the glass. Mara stood and walked to the door. "Don't speak," she mouthed, then opened it. There was nothing on the other side. No wind, no sound, only the empty road. And her, standing still under the broken sign. She turned to me. "He wants to ride with someone tonight." I stepped back, but she reached out, hand trembling. He likes it better when it's not expected. Then she was gone. I didn't see where or how, just gone. I ran out, got into my car, locked everything, turned the key. Nothing. The dashboard flickered once, then went dark, and in the rearview mirror, that face, sitting in the back seat. He didn't move, but his hand rose, one finger against his lips. I jumped out, slammed the door, ran until my lungs hurt, didn't stop until the sky began to brighten. I found the highway, again near dawn. A trucker picked me up, said I looked half dead. I never saw Mara again, but every now and then, on long drives at night, I see headlights in my mirror. No car behind me, just lights, getting closer.